This meeting is of the Glens Falls Planning Board is a virtual meeting as authorized by New York Executive Order 202.1. The meeting is participating via Zoom, which will be muted as you sign on, and the meeting has been advertised on the city's website, and notice of which has been posted. This live Zoom meeting is being recorded and will be made available shortly after ending on the city's YouTube page, which is available at www.youtube.com and searching for City of Glens Falls. If you wish to participate by making a statement or asking a question, please wait until the moderator opens the meeting for public comments. You should raise your virtual hand, which is found in the reactions section at the bottom of your screen, or simply raise your hand until you receive a text stating that you'll be called upon in the order in which you have signaled the meeting administrator. And with that, let us begin this meeting of the Planning Board. Mr. Dan Bruno, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Pape. Very good. Very well done. Welcome, everyone, to the February 2nd, 2021 meeting of the Glens Falls Planning Board. Our first order of business is the discussion and approval of the minutes from the January 20th, 2021 Planning Board meeting. I'll begin with Ms. Murray. Any comments?
Okay. No comments.
Very good. Thank you. Mr. Hall?
No, Dan, did we get a final version of these? Because the one I have still says draft on it. The last I heard from Bob, he said he was trying to get them transponded, but he wasn't sure if he was going to get them all done or not. I mean, I read through what we've got, but they were still labeled as draft. That's all.
Yeah, I don't think there were many changes, but to your point, I'm not sure that we did.
Okay. I didn't have any issues with what was given to us. I just wanted to make sure that I didn't miss something.
No,
Yep.
That's good. Thank you.
Yep.
Mr. Green?
No comment.
No comment. Where's Ms. Culligan? There you are.
No comment.
Okay, thank you. And last but not least, Mr. Accardi, any comments regarding the minutes? Peter? I'll take that as a no. I had none either. Therefore, I'd make a motion that the Glens Falls Planning Board approve the minutes from the January 20th, 2021 Planning Board meeting as submitted.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So be it. Thank you. Moving along, the first item under new business. Patricia and Adrian Bethel, owners of tax map number 303.13-8-53, commonly known as 32 Dix Avenue, are seeking a curb cut to widen the apron on the driveway at this location. Pursuant to city zoning, chapter 220, section 220-48A, part 2, this application requires an advisory opinion by the planning board to the common council. And is there anyone representing this application?
Yes.
And for the record, would you state your name and relationship to the application?
Adrian Bethel, owner.
Okay, very good. Do you have any comments, anything you'd like to discuss regarding this application?
Well, our main reason for doing it is with the ice cream being busy in the summertime, the parking lot gets quite full, and we have the trucks for absolute waste. It's my wife and I's business that we're just trying to eliminate them from going through where the customers are parking, trying to make it more safe.
Sure. Very good. Thank you.
And the curb, the curb cut that's there, it's just too narrow for the trucks to make the turns in and out as it is right now.
Right. And this is on the west side of the Cooper's Cave Ale Company. The ice cream, if you will, dispensary.
Correct. And the curb cut is on the west side of 32 Dix Avenue where the empty lot is.
Very good, thank you. Are there any members of the public that care to comment on this application?
There are nothing, there's no one in queue right now.
Very good, thank you, Mr. Pape. That said, we'll proceed with our architectural consultant who, for some reason, is not attending this via Zoom. I'll have to look into that. He states the proposed curb cut widening of existing 32 Dix Avenue. No concerns. And the city engineer, his statement is 32 Dix recommend making reduction of existing curb cut at east end of property a condition of this approval to promote better control of traffic flow and pedestrian safety. Do you have any comment regarding that, Mr. Bethel?
Well, we're not really quite sure what they're going to do when they redo the street in the spring. They've made comments where they're going to make the bike trail crossing a straight angle across. Right now, it is kind of a safety issue because it is on a diagonal, the actual bike trail when it crosses. So that would have to determine, all of that. Right now, we do have tractor trailers that have to get in and out of that lot for the tenants in the front building and for ourselves for deliveries that go into the back building. So to make that one any narrower would really make it tough for the tractor trailers to back in and out of there.
Great.
Okay. Alrighty. That said, we'll begin with comments from the planning board. Would you like to start, Ms. Culligan?
Sure. I have no questions or comments or concerns about it.
Very good, thank you. Ms. Murray?
No, I have no concerns about it. I don't see the safety. I'm not exactly sure about the safety issue that the engineer was talking about. When I looked at it, it did not seem like it would be a safety issue to widen it to the west or where it is already on the, coming east. So I don't have any concerns about it.
Thank you. Mr. Accardi, are you there? Where'd he go?
It looks like Pete is gone temporarily.
Okay. Mr. Green?
The only comment I have, I think it's a great thing for them to get the trucks in and out. But when they redo the street next spring, are they redoing the sidewalks and everything? Do you know, Dan?
I do not know.
They are
Maybe
doing the sidewalks.
they are.
Yeah.
So when they do that, the only thing we ask is that the apron from the sidewalk to the street be concrete.
Correct.
Other than that, I have no problems.
And I think they might be doing the aprons because they also took measurements to do the sidewalks right up to the doors of the houses and buildings.
Okay. You know more than we do.
Mr. Hall?
Yeah, no, I think that, widening this certainly works much better for Adrian. I think it actually eliminates some of the safety issue that the city engineer is concerned about. I don't think that making the entrance that's there already any narrower would actually be of any benefit. Most of
That's the one on the east side. Not
yeah,
this.
the one that's there. I think that's the one that the city engineer is talking about, making it narrower, but I don't think that does anything. I think that creates more of an issue because with all the traffic that's going in and out of there, and most of the traffic of the cars that park there, Adrian, are going from where they park directly to the ice cream place across the bike path. So there's really not a lot of people walking in the actual parking lot there. So I don't think that, making that existing opening to the east of the building any smaller is going to be of any benefit whatsoever. But I have no problem with widening the one on the west side. I think it works better, and I think it's going to make much better use of the traffic circulation on your lot.
Very good. Thank you. There's no seeker associated with this. Therefore, we can entertain a motion, advisory opinion to the Common Council.
Want me to make that, Dan?
Sure, if you'd like. I appreciate it.
Sure. So I would make a motion that the Glens Falls Planning Board hereby submits the following advisory opinion to the Common Council. The Common Council should look with favor on the application of Patricia and Adrian Bethel, owners of 32 Dix Avenue, for a curb cut as presented at the meeting of 2 February 2021.
Second.
Second by Mr. Green.
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So be it. Thank you, Mr. Bethel.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You
Okay.
too. Now, do you know how this works? We send
No.
the opinion, our advisory opinion to the Common Council, and then the Common Council will act on it. They're the ones that will issue the curb cut, so to speak.
Gotcha. Okay.
So I think, is there anyone here from City Hall? That's it, probably at their next meeting.
Would be a week from tonight. Is that
Okay.
correct?
And is that
And
something I would have to attend or not?
I'm not sure about that. I don't know. Maybe Mr. Vanderzee, do you?
I don't believe so. I've seen other meetings that they've just grouped them all together, but I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, typically I don't think the applicants have to be there because it'll all
Okay.
be written ahead of time, Adrian. I mean,
Gotcha.
I'm sure it'll be a Zoom meeting, so you're welcome to watch in, I'm sure.
Okay.
It'll be
All right.
open to the public.
And then you can get the paperwork, I believe, the following day from the city clerk,
Okay.
the approval of your curb cut.
All right. Appreciate it.
Okay, good luck.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thanks, Peter.
Okay, previously, the next item was the subdivision 20-0042. The applicant has withdrawn that application. So we move on to site plan review 21-0001. Stewart Shops Corporation, owner of tax map number 309.35-2-4, commonly known as 118 Broad Street, is seeking approval for the construction of a new convenience store and self-service gasoline fueling at this location. Pursuant to City Code, Chapter 220, Section 220-17B, this application requires planning board review and approval. Is there anyone representing this application?
Yeah, Chris Potter from Stewart's.
Hi, Chris. Is there anything that you'd care to discuss, add, et cetera, regarding your application?
Sure, I'll give you an overview of what we're looking to do. So we're looking to rebuild our current location, which currently there's a existing Stewart store there that's approximately 2,200 square feet, and a vacant rental of ours that's approximately 1,450 square feet. We would demolish the rental, which would allow us to build the new store right behind the current store. We would keep that one open during construction. And we'd be proposing a 3,256 square foot building. We would do it in phases. We'd be adding gas. We used to have gas here years ago, so we'll be looking to add that back. We're proposing a 20 by 46 canopy that would have 2 dispensers, which would allow 4 cars to fuel up at once. And then as far as parking goes, we would increase from the 8 spaces that we currently have to 15. We'd be proposing 2 curb cuts on Hudson Ave as well as 2 on Broad Street. We really need the two on each because of circulation with the gas canopy. So you can pull in either way and get out either way. As far as green space, we're going to increase, quite a bit. There's currently 6% now, and we'd be going up to 20%. So a lot more green area. We'd be proposing some landscaping out at the point, in between our blacktop edge, and so that whole area could be landscaped. We'd have pedestrian accommodations. Both sides, we connect to the street sidewalks. Our deliveries would be through the Hudson Headwaters lot, and same with our dumpster. We are working with Hudson Headwaters on a licensing agreement, which would allow us to access that and use their parking lot. We have a freestanding sign out at the point that would have our logo and gas pricing on it. Pretty much what we have at this point.
Very good. Thank you. Are there any members of the public that care to comment on this application at this point?
They're on in queue right now,
Thank you, Mr. Pape. Let's see, we'll proceed with comments from the board's architect. Just let me find them. Okay. His first comment is a site plan review 21-0001. So I see no indication the application includes architectural review or sign review, and withhold any comments regarding the same. Then he has 7 comments here I'll read. In close proximity of Stewart's easterly property line along Hudson Headwaters, HHW land, and location of Stewart's dumpster and quote delivery unquote door. The board should determine what legal arrangement Stewart's may have, if any, with Hudson Headwaters that would allow Stewart's use of the Hudson Headwater parking lot, which I believe Mr. Potter addressed a minute ago to some degree. I'm concerned about the viability of this plan. Stewart's trucks, parentheses, some large, and parentheses, would need a large amount of Hudson Headwaters parking lot space, and don't see how Stewart's use can be without spontaneous conflicts to Hudson Headwaters use. More important, this would inhibit Hudson Headwater parking space requirements for its patients and staff. The next comment is dumpster enclosure. Instead of white enclosure, recommend matched color of cement board siding against which the enclosure abuts. Number 3, what does the unlabeled crosshatched area on HHW parking lot indicate? Number 4, Stewart's should submit the checklist required lighting photometric plan for review, including island canopy, building soffits, etc. Number 5, plantings should be provided where Broad and Hudson converge between the fuel tank pad and corner. The proposed sign had 10 feet of clearance beneath it. Number 6, underground tanks require vent pipes rising well above ground level. Parentheses, see Cumberland Farms on Bay Street as example. Possibly with protective pipe balusters. Rather than having them near pedestrian sidewalks, where can those be located without negative visual impact? Number 7, how will snow removal / clearing occur? I don't know if you want to address those now, Mr. Potter, or?
Yeah, I can go through each of those. I guess number 1 with Hudson Headwaters, like I said, we're working through that with them currently. So I wouldn't see any issue with that. The dumpster enclosure, as far as the color, they do offer a tan which matches the siding very closely, so we can switch that. So that would take care of that one also. The unlabeled crosshatch area is the unloading zone for the deliveries in the dumpster. So that'd be where the truck would sit. So they really wouldn't have an impact on cars entering and exiting the Hudson Headwaters parking lot. We will, going forward with the next submission, we'll have a lighting plan with photometrics, so we'll be able to discuss that at a later date. Plantings, we'll have a landscaping plan at that point in time too, with the next submission, which will show a bunch of landscaping out at the point. The vents for our fuel tanks actually go up through one of the canopy columns, so you really don't see them. You may see, depending if you're really looking, you'll see a little bit that would stick out the top of the canopy, but they're hidden very well. And then snow clearing, essentially same thing we do today. We'd have to haul it off. There is more space out at the point that we could put it where we don't have today. There's a little bit of space out there, but that would really remain unchanged.
Very good. Thank you. The city engineer had a comment, 118 Broad. This project will require a stormwater management plan. Details of proposed sewer, storm sewer, and water connection must be submitted for Water and Sewer Department review. That's the city engineer's comment regarding this application. So we'll start with the comments from the planning board. I'll begin with Mr. Green.
Okay, I got a few. Chris, on that sign and over on Ridge Street, we put the sign, the prices and stuff up in the canopy.
Yep.
If that's a possibility, you could do again. I think that looks a lot better than a freestanding sign.
Yeah.
Personally, myself. And I know on the building in Ridge Street too, Rachel Murray wanted the lights hanging over the sign on the front of the store. And I think they look really nice. So that would be something. And I know in Ridge Street store, we did the dormers. I don't know if that's necessary here to make it fit more in with a residential, but this isn't so much residential there, but just trying to, other than that, the stormwater, and are you planning on putting a bike rack anywhere?
Yeah, we show one on the near the building on the Hudson Ave side.
Okay, you do show one. Okay. Other than that, one other thing I know that's probably not going to fly is the cultured stone in the front of the building or around the building. But I'll let another member discuss that with you. I don't want to steal her thunder.
Is that it?
That's it, Dan.
Thank you. Mr. Hall.
Yeah, I think we've pretty much been over the things that were on my list of stuff. I'm assuming this is coming back. This is kind of a preliminary first cut for us to get a lot of this stuff pulled together, right, Chris?
Yep.
Yeah, so it looks like, obviously this is kind of an ongoing theme with the steward shops, taking down the ones that are old and outdated and putting up the newer ones, and certainly Stewart's does a great job with that, and they've been very willing to work with us in the past on the different things that we've asked for, and I see no reason why it wouldn't continue to be so in the future. I think that Dan's point about at least seeing the final legal agreement between you and Hudson Headwaters is probably something that would need to be, looked at. I'm assuming that your deliveries and stuff are going to take place off hours of Hudson Headwaters. When they're not there, you guys will get your deliveries and then be out of their way and whatever for going through that. And everything else I think is forthcoming, and it looks like it's easily done, and you certainly can't make that corner any worse than what it is. I mean, anything you're going to do, there's going to be an improvement. So I'm in favor of this.
Very good. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Mr. Accardi, can you hear me? Peter?
I can hear you now. I
Okay.
can hear you now.
All right, very good.
I have no comments.
Okay, thank you very much. Ms. Colligan?
Many of my concerns were discussed already, and I will talk about how there should be brick on the building, especially because surrounding it, the majority of the buildings already have red brick.
Very good. Yeah, we'll cover that in the architectural review application. Thank you. Ms. Murray?
No, I think it's going to be a nice addition to that area. I think it will look good. I think, like Ethan said, it'll be a nice improvement there. Yeah, everything that I was thinking about has been addressed. The only thing I would have to add is that I think this would be a perfect Stewart's location to have a walk-up window if they were ever considering it. I think it would lend itself well to that sort of a walk-up ice cream window. But that's all. That's just
good point. Thank you. I just had a few comments. I'll start off. Now, you're not seeking final approval tonight.
Unless you want to give it.
Well, I don't think we have enough information, to be honest with you.
Okay. I wasn't
Good try.
expecting that, so.
Good try. My comments are, this is preliminary, but we'd want to see more in the way of stormwater management details, photometric plan, pavement markings, traffic control, that sort of thing, signage and pavement markings for traffic control. I'm not sure if because of the nature of this site, if it might be advantageous, and I'll seek comment from the rest of the board, to designate these. You have 4 curb cuts for ingress and egress. I wonder if they should be designated one or the other. Maybe that's, you know what I'm saying? In other words, maybe the 2 on the west end of the site would be enter only, and the 2 on the east side, so to speak, would be exit only.
I think it's all well and good to say that, but unfortunately, that's kind of an unenforceable action. I mean, they could be signed as such, but you can't prevent somebody from pulling in or out of whatever one.
Well, you can't prevent them, but
Right.
You induce most people would follow those. It's just a thought. If you want to leave it the way it is, that's fine too.
Yeah, they're both 30 feet wide, so there should be plenty of room for people to come in and out on both of them, even if somebody's trying to make a left to get out. I think it's going to depend on where people are coming from and trying to get back out to. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, good point.
The way traffic stacks up on Hudson at that light, if we designate just one and somebody's parked in front of that one, a lot of times somebody will leave one open for somebody to get in and out.
Mhm.
So, for us to say, hey, let's make just one of them, and then you get a truck or something pulls up, and the next thing you know, you got half a dozen people backed up into the light.
Okay.
So I'm comfortable with leaving them the way they've got them shown.
Anyone else have a comment regarding that? If not, we'll move along. So additionally, so stormwater details, locations, et cetera, photometric plan. Additionally, there's a checklist that's supposed to be submitted with the application, which I don't see. It's an acknowledgement sheet. What it does is, you attest to the fact that you looked at that, reviewed all the requirements, and you sign off on it, but I don't see that here.
I see the application, the certifications here. I have a copy of the certification.
Well, I didn't
The
get it.
last page of the application.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. There it is.
The
But the
certification
checklist isn't there.
The checklist wasn't there, but.
But the last thing I'll mention is, the landscaping. We'd want to see some detail as to plantings, what's going to be grass, what's going to be plantings, that sort of thing. So other than that, I had no more comments. I guess I'll consult our attorney. Should we go through the seeker at this point, Mr. Fitzgerald?
You can if you want, or you could wait until the next meeting if it's going to be tabled. I guess I would throw out there for seeker purposes, if this is under 4,000 square feet of a structure, not including the gas canopy, you can classify it as a type 2. I believe that it was under 4,000 square feet.
3297 or 3275 or something.
Yeah.
Is that your understanding, Chris?
Potter?
Yes, that it is under 4,000.
Okay. But we could finalize that at the next meeting when they
Okay.
have their additional information. Probably makes sense too anyway, since they're submitting more information on stormwater.
Okay, very good. Thank you. All right, so
There's no zoning variances required on this, Chris Vanderzee?
Yes, there are. They have applied. They will be in front of the zoning board at the next meeting.
Okay, so the question I think becomes, Ed, obviously we're tabling it, but will the zoning board take first crack at seeker at that point?
What are the variances, Chris Vanderzee? Are they just setback variances?
I believe so. I don't remember 100%, but I believe it's just setback. Yes.
Oh, okay, so I'll look at that, but they may be exempt from seeker on that as well.
Okay,
Ethan, a lot of the zoning ones are exempt.
right. I just wanted to, typically it's the first, whatever board's looking at it first takes first crack at seeker. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
We could do a non-combined review as well.
Sure.
A lot of times we do independent reviews.
Right.
my feeling on that was if they do, they do, and if not, we do it. But
right.
Either way, it doesn't really matter.
Okay.
Okay, so if the applicant is in agreement, I'd make a motion that the planning board tables the application of Stewart Shops Corporation for site plan review 21-0001.
Yep.
Having the submission of additional information with regard to the site plan.
That sounds
I'll
good.
second.
Second by all in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Yeah, yes,
Does the applicant understand that there's a separate application for architectural review?
Good point.
I just might want to be noted to Chris that he needs to get that in there.
Yep, we'll include that with the next one, as well as that checklist too.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Potter.
Thank you.
Looks like a good project anyway.
Yeah,
I think the board is in favor of it. Just need to address a few issues.
Yep, we'll get those taken care of for the next meeting.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item is site plan review 21-0002. And hopefully I pronounced this correctly. If not, feel free to jump all over me. Elon Boskert, is that correct? I'll assume it is.
Hi.
Owner of tax map number 302.16-9-6, commonly known as 480 Glen Street, is seeking approval to operate an Airbnb type business with 5 residence rooms, along with common areas, including a kitchen, dining room, and living room at this location. Pursuant to City Code, Chapter 220, Section 220-15D, Part 2, this application requires planning board review and approval. Now, before we begin anything, any public comment or otherwise, I would like to hear from our attorney, if that's okay, Mr. Fitzgerald, regarding this application as to its, viability, if you will.
Sure. I believe you're referencing the type of use. So the application seeks site plan approval for the use described in the public notice. One of the first things we do is then look at what zone this is. This is cultural professional zone. Then we look to see what uses are allowed in the zone. Some uses are allowed by right. Some uses are allowed subject to site plan review. In looking at the particular section of this code, it doesn't look like any of the uses that are allowed by right or subject to site plan review would fit what is being proposed. And when you do that analysis, you then flip over to the definitions, because all of the allowed uses have a definition in the code. So you flip over to the city code, look at the definitions. We can gather more information here tonight, but it appears that the proposed use would fit into one of 2 categories. Either there's a definition for a boarding or rooming house or a hotel. What category that falls into is to be determined by the code enforcement office, by Mr. Vanderzee. That does not have to be determined tonight necessarily. What I wanted to point out initially is that regardless of which classification that were to fall into, neither of those uses are allowed in this zone. So anything that went forward would actually require a use variance first. So this board could review the application, but any approval that this board would, if they were to grant approval, at least one of the conditions would have to be subject to a use variance. So what we've done in the past, and we could discuss it tonight if we want, give the applicant a chance to speak here what they're proposing to do. I would probably recommend that if the matter stays on in front of the board, that it be tabled for the applicant to decide whether they want to pursue a use variance here. So those are my initial comments.
Thank you very much. Okay. We'll begin with any members of the public that care to comment on this.
Oh, Dan, can we hear from the
Yep.
applicant as to what
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
his feeling is? I mean,
Yep.
before we get into having the public say anything, I mean, if Mr. Boster wishes
Yep.
to
Yep.
table it right now, we can kind of save a lot of this.
Yeah. Mr. Boskert, do you have anything you'd care to offer regarding this application?
Yeah, 1 second. I have my friends. He can speak for me. He can explain to you guys better than me. I have made the accent.
Very good.
Okay, I hope I got that. Got a little bit of a reverb going here on my part. I don't know whether you guys hear it. But
Yeah.
I'm Mike Pugh. Ilhan had asked me to come over here and give him a hand putting together the application. And I think in light of what we're talking about right now, it may be a good opportunity to table this and go back and talk to, I might want to need to talk to Chris Vanderzee, and he might want to just check into the codes again and see how going forward he may want to handle this.
So you're inclined at this point to table this matter?
I believe so, Mr. Bruno.
Okay. All right.
And that way he can have the opportunity to seek the right avenue. If you're telling him that he needs to get a variance, zoning variance, then I think it might be time for us to talk about that.
Okay. All right, then that said, I'd make a motion that the planning board tables the application of Elan Boskert at the request of the applicant, pending review and further discussion with the city code enforcement officer.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Any opposed? If not, the matter is tabled. Thank you.
Thank you all.
We have one additional item. We're not going to act on it, but Mr. Moriarty, his project on Maple Street has had a few changes regarding number of units, I believe, but I'll let Mr. Yasenchik, his architect, talk to that. But basically what this is, I said to Mr. Yasenchik that he could make a presentation tonight, and what we will determine as a result of this is whether or not the applicant has to come back to the planning board, or if we just collectively say, we're okay with what they're proposing regarding changes. In other words, if the changes are of a magnitude that we feel the applicant should come back, then so be it. If not, then they don't come back. So having said that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Yasenchik.
Thank you. As the board is aware, we were before the board and got approval with a contingency, and that contingency was to come back with a signed easement for parking and for snow storage. Initially, what we presented to the board was that we had 14 units, which required 21 spaces, and we were going to get the extra 5 spaces. We could get 16 on site, and we were going to get the additional 5 spaces and snow storage on the property to the north of us, which is owned by the electrical people. During the course of pursuing that, that fell apart. So Mr. Moriarty talked to IP, the people who own the property to the east across Cooper Street. They were very willing to work with us, but we were looking at probably 3, 4, 5 months till we get through all the paperwork with a large corporation. We were able to work something out with the Candy people located to, I'm sorry, IP is to the west. Mr. Moriarty was able to work something out with the people who own the property to the east, the Candy people. And what we were proposing to do is reduce the number of units from 14 down to 12. That reduces the parking requirement from 21 to 18. And we could get everything, snow storage and the additional 2 parking spaces on the east side in the northeast corner. Mr. Moriarty has been able to obtain an easement. We have a surveyor who is working on it, getting the legal language and everything for that. In addition, Mr. Moriarty is in the process of negotiating to buy that parcel. So in essence, he will eventually be giving himself the easement. To be honest, we think that this is, if anything, it's a reduction in what we had previously presented, in that Mr. Moriarty is willing to go from 14 units to 12. We're not changing anything else. We're not changing the stormwater. We're not changing the planting, the architecturals, or anything like that. And we really have a lot of space in the back for snow storage now, more than we had before. That in a nutshell is what we're proposing.
Very good. Thank you. I'll start with just one by one. See what the pleasure of the board is. Ms. Culligan, with respect to having them come back, or would you just, let's say, approve it as is tonight?
It's hard, I don't know.
Okay.
I'd like to see it, but if they can't produce it, it's okay.
It's not a problem. I mean, if we want them to come back to revise the drawings or what have you, then that's what they'll do.
Well, the drawings that we will be submitting for final approval will show that.
They show the reduction in the parking,
Yes,
correct?
correct.
Okay. Ms. Murray, your thoughts?
I'm comfortable approving that tonight as is. They've been there a few times, and I think that it's reasonable to approve it without having to have them back again.
Okay, very good. Mr. Accardi, can you hear me? Peter Accardi?
Peter Accardi.
I was wondering what happens with it.
I couldn't understand that.
Yeah, I was wondering what happens with the 14 going to 12 apartments. What happens in the interior of structure?
Okay, but that's not really purview of the board.
To answer his question, Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
the units are going to get a little bit bigger. Some will go from 1 bath to a bath and a half. We are not changing any of the window or door locations whatsoever. We're keeping the architecturals exactly the same. We're just rearranging the units inside a little bit to make them a little bit bigger.
Thank you. Anything else, Mr. Accardi? Okay. Mr. Green.
I'm fine with it. I would just like to hear from Ed, if that's okay. What we're doing is,
Yeah, I'll get to him in a minute.
okay. But I have no problems with it other than that.
Thank you. Mr. Hall.
No, I'm looking at the overhead on Google Earth right now, and actually by doing this, I think it actually makes circulation a little bit better for you on the lot, doesn't it, George? It looks like it does.
It does. It keeps all of our parking on our lot, basically.
Yeah. So to me, I think that this is a win-win. I mean, the applicant is proposing fewer apartments than what we had before, which means less parking requirement. So, and the fact that he's, now in negotiation with Donahue and Higgins to purchase the old building there, I think it certainly works out for the applicant, and I think it works out for us getting the additional parking and stuff there. So I'm in favor of approving it as it's proposed tonight.
Very good. Now, Mr. Fitzgerald, I was holding you for last. I want to get the board's comments first, but could you give us your assessment of this?
Sure. If I'm understanding correctly, there's nothing changing on the actual site plan that was approved, other than that the plan would show just a couple less parking spots, but the ones that are being removed were on someone else's property anyway.
That's correct.
Okay. Yes, then you could approve it tonight, because everything else is just internal, not, so it was never subject to site plan review anyway.
Okay. So do we need a motion regarding this approval, or we're just going to accept it? We've discussed it, reviewed it.
I would think that, what's the, Chris Vanderzee, do you remember what the application number was for this when they came in the first time? Or maybe George, do you remember what the application number was?
That question was directed at Mr. Fitzgerald.
Oh, I'm sorry.
As far as whether you need a resolution, it wouldn't hurt to encapsulate your discussion just now into a quick resolution, so you have that for the minutes.
Okay, very good. Now, Mr. Hall, sorry about that.
No, I was just, that's what I was saying. I mean, if we knew what the application number was before, we could just either go in and amend the previous, or just use the same number and do an updated approval.
Right, I would recommend we take the original application number and just fashion something saying tonight, based on information provided, we're amending it and reducing the number of units and the parking, or what have you.
Sure.
That I would do that, because if you treat it as a new application, then you got to treat it, the whole thing, like a new application, which you don't want to do.
Right.
Should the language say something that eliminates the deal that he had to have, or looking for the right word, with an adjacent property owner, and it just eliminates that completely?
Correct. Yeah, that was a condition of approval. So you could basically just eliminate that condition, because it's no longer relevant, because you don't have the apartments that bumped you into needing that.
Right.
Okay. All right.
Do we know what that number was?
Well, hang on. Do you, Mr. Yacentric, do you have that number by any chance?
Not with me, I do not.
You know what, let me go back into the previous minutes, the previous meeting minutes.
If you can't locate them, Ethan, you could always phrase it to something to the effect of that the number of apartments are now, just state the number of apartments, and therefore all the parking spaces can be found on the applicant's parcel, and there's no need for that condition imposed.
Sure. Okay. All right. Yeah, I was just looking.
Mr. Fitzgerald, that's not really true. Two of the spots are part of the easement with the people to the east.
Okay.
This easement that we're proposing replaces the easement that we were trying to get. But about half of the parking spot, maybe 3/4, I mean, some of it's on ours and some of it's adjacent property. And yes, eventually Mr. Moriarty will own both, but he will probably keep them as separate tax parcels.
Okay, then maybe don't strike the entire condition out when you're drafting your resolution.
Right. Yeah, I don't find the old one yet.
It's March, Ethan.
Yeah,
You got March.
I don't have it in front of me.
Yeah, I'm looking back through them and I just don't see them. Let me find the ones from Noreen here.
If you can't find it, can you make the resolution with fill in the blank, and Megan, I'll give you that tomorrow?
Would council not fill in the blank? Get it as close as you can.
All right, so how do we want to move this forward? We don't have the original
Yeah, I don't.
application number. I could probably find it, but I'd probably lose everybody.
What is the address of the property? Just put that in your resolution. It was Maple Fortress was the
I
applicant.
got it.
Oh,
Found it. The site plan 20003.
all right. So,
That dinner, 0003. There's four.
0003. What's that? Yep, 20003. So that was resolution number 46 from the September meeting.
so we are amending the resolution, correct?
Yeah, so there would be an amendment to resolution number 46 from the, it was a special meeting that was held on September 15th, and resolution number 46, Glens Falls Planning Board acting as the Board of Site Plan and Architecture Review hereby grants architectural approval for site plan number 200003 for Tim Moriarty, owner of Tax Maps. It says the numbers there. So I think that we can just eliminate the part where it says the Cooper Street parcel would be developed for paving of 16 parking spaces as presented at the meetings of 9/1/20 and 9/15/20, subject to the following conditions of approval. The use of a separate vacant parcel on Cooper Street is limited to off-street parking for 178 to 180 Maple Street. And the applicant shall obtain an easement in writing from the adjacent property owner for use of their property for off-street parking. I think we can just amend that portion to say that it would be for the property at 176, I believe it's 176, George?
Yeah.
176 Maple Street. So the application or the resolution could just be amended to say from the vacant parcel on Cooper Street to the parcel at 176 Maple Street.
Do you also have to drop the number of spaces? Did that resolution reference the spaces that would be on?
It did not. It just said that it would be subject, that there would be 16 parking spaces on the subject parcel.
Okay.
Which, George, you can still get that, correct?
We still have that. That's correct.
Right. So there's no change there. It just said that it was limited to off-street parking for this application. So I think that as long as we just amend it to keep that and say that it's 176 Maple Street instead of the Cooper Street parcel, I think we're okay.
All right, maybe you could make the resolution or the motion that regarding site plan review 20-0003 and resolution number 46 of September 15th, 2020. After discussion with the applicant's architect on February 2nd, 2021. You can add to it whatever you want.
That engineer, please.
Yes.
Engineer, okay.
Ethan's giving me the evil eye here. I'm actually an engineer.
I usually get it the other way around, George.
Well, I knew it was one or the other because whatever. All right. So we'll change architect to engineer.
Thank you.
What else did we want to add in there? Anything?
I think that was it.
Yeah, we were removing a condition, is that correct?
You're amending.
Just amending the condition.
Just amending it?
Yep. And then the other part of that resolution, as I read further on the next page, was the architectural portion of it that said it was warehouse space on Maple Street to be converted into 7 1- and 2-bedroom apartments on the first and second floors. So I think, George, are you going to 6 apartments on both floors?
Correct.
Okay, so I think we can amend that as well to say 6 apartments on the first and second floor.
Okay. Does anybody know how this motion reads now?
That would be Megan. Megan, you've scratched that out 3 or 4 times already, haven't you?
Maybe a couple.
Do you have anything there? Do you want me to redo it or Ethan to redo it?
I don't think so. I think we're just changing the Cooper Street parcel to 176 Maple. And
178,
No, 176.
76, yeah.
Yeah, that's
Sorry,
Donahue.
it was only my office for 10 years.
That's not, no, Donahue and Higgins is the one that they need to get the adjoining property owner for, which is 176.
Oh, okay.
And we're going from 7 to 6 apartments on the first and second floor.
That's correct.
Okay.
So moved.
So we have a second.
Second,
Second.
All in favor?
yes.
Any opposed? So be it. I want to recognize just for a second here, Mr. Leibowitz submitted quite a bit of information regarding I'm sorry, 480 Glen Street, and Mr. Sluck has property just north there, right adjacent to it. And if the applicant comes back, obviously you'll be notified. I know you put a lot of time and effort into this, but at this point, pending more action by that applicant to obtain whatever any variance is required, there's not much point in us discussing it. So. So I guess that's it. Are there any other comments from the public, Mr. Pape?
There are none right now.
Okay, go ahead.
Nope, not clap.
Oh,
Yeah, I just wanted to thank Mr. Pape for his assistance in explaining things, which we didn't need tonight, but I certainly appreciate the helps and tips on technology. And I certainly appreciate, the board taking the documents, materials I sent them. Just so you'll note, even though the matter is tabled, out of courtesy and ethics, I delivered a copy of my email, the letter, and the USB drive to Mr. Boskurt early this morning when I was able to get over to City Hall to file the documents too. So just so you're aware.
very good. Thank you. And this will also give the board more time and opportunity to review the information that you submitted, Mr. Leibowitz. So if it does come back, they'll be better prepared. So that said, is there anything else to come before the board?
If I could just make one comment, I forgot when we were doing 480 Glen Street to preface with the fact that Mr. Leibowitz had asked that I check our firm's files to see whether a conflict of interest might exist, since one of my colleagues may have represented the Boskirks when they were buying the property. I did confirm that one of my law partners represented them when they bought the property, and I believe potentially represented the lender as well, but have concluded that we do not have a conflict of interest in this particular thing. The representation ended at the end of the purchase and sale transaction, and our office has not been advising or representing him with respect to the application or any of the use or zoning issues on the property, and we would decline to do so if he were to contact our office to represent him.
Thank you.
Well, if that's it, at some point, I still need to get together with our attorney, Mr. Fitzgerald, to review our suggested modifications to Chapter 220. So we'll do that at some point. Other than that, if no one has anything, I would make a motion that we adjourn the planning board meeting of to February 2021.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Before we go, I wanted to compliment Megan on her preparation of those, the minutes from our January 20th meeting. Good job, Megan.
That was actually Bob Curtis, but thank you.
Take credit.
Take credit. They're good.
Take the credit.
Thank you.
All right, very good. Thank you, everyone.
Dan, were we gonna try and do a get together, or are we gonna just postpone that for now?
I think we'll postpone it for now because of the.
Yeah.
We still should do it.
Yeah.
But given that
I
was.
think we do it in the
before
summer and have a bonfire.
There you go. I like that.
I mean, I don't know about you, but I got about 3 boxes worth of paper from the last 10 years, so.
I've got as much myself, but in all seriousness, I had good intentions of doing it in January, and then everything started creeping back up. So I just thought that, but I'm glad you brought it up, and we should, keep it in front of us. And at some point, I think it's good for the board just to get together, and Mr. Vander Zee and anybody else associated with it once a year, just to talk about something other than applications and codes and et cetera.
I agree.
So, well, thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
Guys.
Good night. Hey, everybody.
Stay safe, everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Pape. Good job.